Hello and welcome to the Capital Markets on Channels Television. I'm Edidiong Iwang. The Securities and Exchange Commission says that there is no policy conflict with the Central Bank of Nigeria over the ban placed on cryptocurrency transactions in the banking industry. Now, as it recognizes trading the digital assets as investments which fall under its regulatory purview, except proven otherwise. Now, a statement by SEC explains that the position of the CBN is not to hinder or stifle innovation, but to establish standards of the ethical practices that ultimately make for a fair and efficient securities market. It adds that its position on cryptocurrency transaction was to provide regulatory certainty within the digital space due to the growing volumes of reported flows. Now, SEC says it has engaged with the CBN to analyze and understand the identified risk in order to mitigate its threat to investors' protection. Now, last week, the Central Bank of Nigeria directed banks and other financial institutions to immediately close any accounts dealing with cryptocurrency or facilitating payments for cryptocurrency exchange with immediate effect. Now, that drew criticisms on social media and among analysts. Regardless of the buzz, the CBN released another statement saying that there is no going back on its directives on the use of cryptocurrencies in the country. Now, the Apex Bank says it will continue to do all within its regulatory powers to educate Nigerians to desist from the use of cryptocurrencies. Well, joining me now from our Abuja studios to talk more about this is Irene David Arinze, a certified cryptocurrency investigator, and Adedeji Owonibi, the founder of Convexity and a consultant to the Central Bank of Nigeria and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Well, Irene, I mean, it's good to have you on the other side now. So let's just start with you. What did you make of CBN's restrictions on cryptocurrency?
All right, thank you very much, Edidiong, for having me here today. Regarding the issue by the Central Bank of Nigeria in terms of cryptocurrency, it made me go back to the history of money where, from the onset, we had the barter system, and then we moved to the coinage system. We then moved to the Bretton Woods gold standard, where the gold was pegged to the dollar and then the fiat currency. And with the rate at which technology is going, one thing is certain: whatever the future of transaction and trade, would be, it has to be hinged on technology. So, whilst the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying that they do not want financial institutions to, have any form of transactions with crypto exchanges, I find it a little disturbing because I feel that there are better ways to solve this particular situation. Although the Central Bank of Nigeria has mentioned their plights regarding this, part in terms of transactions.
Well, Adedeji, what did you make of that? And I mean, the CBN raised various concerns or various reasons for its action, one being the unregulated and unlicensed entities, users' anonymity, high risk of losing investments and money laundering. Don't you think that these concerns raised are valid?
Absolutely. They are valid concern, and every country within the world are making effort to make sure that these concerns are checked and they have their fingers on it. And unfortunately, that is not the case here. I've made repeated discussions in different fora to say, the way this whole thing is moving is going to be very difficult as time goes on for us to put our hands on this thing, because the young people, the criminals, will find a breathing place in Nigeria. And it's easier now that they have shown interest. It is okay now that they want to step into it properly to check it. Just before I got to the studio, I was listening to a report by Kela Megwa to say that some people here within Nigeria, kidnappers to say, within Abuja, are actually asking for their payment of ransom in Bitcoin. That is disturbing. That is what should give any regulator a sleepless night. But again, like my colleague just said here, there are better ways to this.
Well, Irene, I mean, how do you react to that as a certified cryptocurrency investigator? These concerns that have been raised by the Central Bank of Nigeria, what do you make of them? And how do we go from there?
All right, thank you very much. I personally believe that, fine, their concerns are valid. However, when I saw their reminder to deposit money banks and the likes of it, it made me go back to check what the foreign remittance to the country in 2020 was. And surprisingly, I did see one, something which Emefiele had mentioned, Governor Emefiele had mentioned, stating how much what they had expected in terms of foreign remittance wasn't what they got at the end of 2020, which for me, sort of gave me a different perspective to where the Central Bank of Nigeria might be coming from. The truth of the matter is they might have mentioned the disadvantages of making use of this cryptocurrency, but obviously, at least from all of my findings and research, I have discovered that as of 2020, foreign remittance into the country had dropped because people had now found alternative means in which they could transfer money either from abroad to Nigeria or from Nigeria to across the globe.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned foreign remittance. Now, Dejiji, I'd like to pose this question to you. Nigeria won't be the only country to put some kind of regulations around the crypto market. I mean, we've seen the same with China, Canada, and Saudi Arabia. But then we can't compare the development of these countries to Nigeria. What does this restriction say about, investments coming into the country and our ability to evolve as a country?
Obviously, as businesses, we look for places that have suitable regulatory environment for them to operate in. And China and those countries you mentioned, earlier in 2017, they decided, oh, this is time for us to actually look at this whole cryptocurrency thing and see how it can be regulated. And again, they made some errors, so which I believe Nigeria as a country will have probably just learned from them. Take, for instance, an exchange, the world's largest exchange, Binance, was actually founded out of China. And in 2017, when China banned it, he simply moved to Singapore. And now they are doing billions and billions in revenue. The essence of this and the impact of that is that China is not going to get any share from the tax they are paying to Singapore at this time. So, and if this is happening, I expect our regulators, our government institutions to look inward and see how much they can put into understanding this new nascent technology to see how it can be regulated, because of course it can be regulated, and instead of leaving the space unchecked. And obviously if you leave the space so long like what is happening in Nigeria, criminals will take over the space and it's going to be very, very pretty difficult to be ahead of them.
Now, speaking about regulation, in terms of regulation, what advice do you have to the CBN and the EFCC? What should they be doing at this point in terms of regulation? For me, regulation is evolving. There's no straightway answer to regulating cryptocurrency. I've been involved with few regulatory roadmaps. For instance, the SEC regulation, the SEC statement that was released, it was as a result of the SEC Virtual Asset Regulatory Framework Committee, which I'm a member of, which I was a member of that time, that came up with a guide on how SEC can actually work through this. We have to look around the world, the whole regulation around investing in it and all that, and also give a very beautiful recommendation for what we think the SEC should do. And around the globe, a lot of countries are approaching it differently, and everybody have got a lot of different angle to it. I contribute in the anti-money laundering, terror financing of the global digital finance, where we look at globally standards and we have contribution to issues like that. And I remember when we were trying to contribute to the financial, the FCA in UK, when they were trying to come up with this, and within our group, that is the Global Digital Finance, we're trying to see how can we improve this regulation and not to stifle innovation. And I remember vividly saying within the group for us to recommend to the FCA not to tax people that have business ideas around this technology. I remember them trying to charge £5,000 for anybody that shows interest, and that's not a guarantee. That money will be held for 6-7 months until they get back to you whether you qualify or not. And we think that is draconian. And at that time, we think that will stiffen innovation, and we recommended that that should not be. And things like that is what happens around the whole globe, and people believe
countries and regulators believe there's a better way for them to actually do it, and businesses are blossoming, including Nigeria. And unfortunately, after this central bank announcement, I saw a very young fella that is actually doing very great within the space, which is exchange, trying to move to Dubai. And the communication they did have is that Nigeria is not friendly with this kind of circular that was released, and they found succor in Dubai that is welcoming innovation. So things like that will bring the economy down instead of strengthening it. And I believe that is where our regulators and government should be looking.
I mean, speaking about that, we've seen some countries, embracing crypto more. There's some certain countries where they even tax proceeds from that. Would you say that the Nigerian government should look towards that? I mean, being more detailed. I mean, because right now there's a lot around cryptocurrencies that a lot of people need to understand. So for them to regulate it, they need to first of all understand that. But then what else should they be? Because right now they've just gone on a journey of outrightly banning it. What are some other ways or some other possible means to look through this and see how we could at least, not stifle innovation? No, that's for you, Adedeji. Sorry.
Is that to me?
Yes, that's to you.
Okay, great. For the taxation part of it, I remember we just concluded a document that we worked on national blockchain strategy for Nigeria, which I was glad to contribute to. And when we were launching that, I made a presentation. We showed the Nigerian, space and activities that are happening. And we remember shooting around 6 billion weekly that was done. And then a few days later, I got some people from the tax office coming to tell us, oh, that presentation you did, how can we tax it? And my answer to them was just very straight. And I say, you can't tax it. And the reason is this. Before you tax it, there are definitions different countries have given to cryptocurrency. Some people have decided to classify it as property. Some countries have decided to see it as currency. And that's what we explain how the tax law within those countries can be applied. For Nigeria, no statement has been made so far. And I think we can only, at this point, maybe lash on the fact that it is an investment asset like the SEC saw it, that it is an investment asset. And so if you invest in assets, you make profit, of course, there's a capital gain. And therefore, it means the tax authority can begin to look into this direction to see how they can even show up the revenue of the state. My colleague in the studio here did mention the drop in remittances. And of course, the remittance dropped like 80% last year, from 2-point-something billion, dollars to around $500, million remittance. And that has even gone further to drop this time, because I believe, like you said, people are finding a way around about remitting to Nigeria. When circulars, when instruction, when a lot of things happen to make it difficult for you to actually either remit or even make payment via these foreign currencies, this is a new technology, safer, more secured, and even user-friendly for the young people to embrace. And I think that is why the remittance will continue to actually dwindle, and it's not going to improve because people are getting more awareness that there's an alternative way of remitting money across the globe, because this is a country that is denationalized, and it's not, you don't have to convert from one currency to another. If you have one, you are equal and on the same pedestal with any other person around the world. So I think we have to begin to look into this space very deeply.
Well, Irene, let me come to you now. Of course, as a millennial, you're more conversant with technology and what should be done. What would you say the CBN should be doing right now in terms of technology?
All right, thank you very much, Adedeji. In that regard, I would consider, building a consortium such that, for example, the European Union, they actually have what they call the European Union Blockchain Consortium Observatory and Forum, where they bring together technology experts, where in fact there's a University of Nicosia in Cyprus, which they are actually the first university which started, educating people on digital currencies. They've brought together the most important stakeholders. So I would expect that the central bank should also employ such, tactics. They shouldn't send or lash out on the exchanges already, because I don't know how far this will take them. In the forum in which I'm in currently, where we have over 110 countries represented, the top 3 countries with the highest members are the United States, UK, and Nigeria, with the age bracket ranging between 18 and 24. Now, this is to show you that this is the currency of the future. Digital currencies are the currencies of the future. People would say that the young ones are not as patient, but then, this blockchain technology enables us to perform transactions at the fastest rate with no form of, oh, I sent money and it's yet to come. No. We don't have such situations. So I believe, and I would like to advise the central bank to, do they want to digitize our fiat? Is it possible? What are the things that they need to start? Who are the stakeholders that they need to start, having conversations with? The regulatory authorities, are they equipped to understand what this technology really has in store for us?
I'm
because
sorry,
this is the future.
I'm sorry, I need to hold you there. We'll go on this quick break and then you'll continue, what you're saying when we return in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on the program. Now, just before we went on that break, Irene, you were talking about, what the CBN should be doing now, what sort of technologies they should be embracing, what they should be doing to just improve Nigeria's position in the blockchain market. So could you just continue with that?
Absolutely. The truth of the matter is, no matter how much we try to fight technology, you cannot fight technology, and that is certain, So we need to come together. It's not a cat and rat race, no. This even gives us an opportunity for Nigeria to become the brain box in terms of digital currencies. If the young population are so interested, Nigerians are smart, our youths are smart. Don't undermine the capacity and the strength and the mental prowess of Nigerian youths. If we are this interested, can we come together and strengthen this particular industry? How can the central bank should not in any way, shape or form think, cutting off all forms of exchanges would solve the problem. This is technology. If you close one door, they can always create. They are creators. We are innovators. So there's always another way out to perform these transactions, with or without the exchanges. And that is the fact.
So last year, the Securities and Exchange Commission recognized crypto as an investment and came up with guidelines to try to regulate that market. Now we're seeing this from the CBN. The SEC says that there is no policy conflict with the CBN as the Securities and Exchange Commission, recognizes trading the digital assets as investments, which falls under its regulatory purview, except proven otherwise. Now, is it in the purview of the CBN to roll out these restrictions? Because right now, the SEC says cryptocurrencies are investments until proven otherwise. So that hasn't been proven yet. So is it in the purview of the CBN to be rolling out these restrictions?
That is a peculiar problem with Nigeria. And I did mention also some couple of weeks ago that we have to holistically look at this cryptocurrency and come out with a holistic approach to it as a country. And I did mention that at the launch of that national blockchain strategy. And I said, if we leave it the way it is, every industry, every parastatal of government, every institution will come out to say, oh, we got a place or a part in this technology to regulate. So the same way we're finding now. And I did give them example. I said, this is a country where the police fight civil defense on the street, just for superiority thing. So we have to come as one to show, okay, this is our approach as a country to this cryptocurrency. If we don't, we'll begin to find SEC coming to say, oh, there's an investment angle of it, and we are going to regulate it. And the central bank, like we're finding now, oh, there's a financial angle of it, there's a money aspect of it, so we are going to regulate it. And the consumer protection will tell you there's an angle to it that the consumers might probably lose some things, and okay, it's under our purview. So all these issues, everybody will begin to drag it, and the people that will suffer it are the young innovators that are trying to change the landscape. And in that sense, we have to come together with a simplified policy, simplified regulation, and also create a sandbox for these young people to come play while you watch what they do. And when they're trying to go into things that probably will have a financial stability implication, things that will have to do with maybe scam in the security aspect of it, all this can be curtailed because they are within the sandbox where the regulatory bodies can put an eye on them. Coming back to your question, of course, if you dissect it very properly, anything that has to do with investment is under the purview of the Security and Exchange Commission. And of course, you can also not deny the fact that anything that has to do with money within Nigeria is under the purview of the central bank. And we cannot begin to pull around and say, okay, this is my own forte, this is my own area, I have to regulate that. We have to speak with one voice as a country so that we can begin to see how we can harness this technology, because a lot of activities are happening there. A lot of transformation is going on now, even without government, I know, having their serious input in it. And that is most of the things I say, that for us to actually look at this whole space holistically and checkmate the bad actors, because obviously anywhere you find value, the criminals will have a first step there. So and it is very difficult for you to actually check them. If the criminals are having the first time of move and our law enforcement, the security agencies, they are not there, the criminals are there, then it's going to be very hard not to crack. And that is why we advocate that this is the time for us to go back to the drawing board, check and see what we can do. These things are not as difficult as we are meant to believe. A lot of people believe it's a rocket science. It's not. We can actually investigate these things. We can actually know who is behind some wallets. And a lot of things can be done with the authorities coming together to actually tame this.
Well, thankfully, the Securities and Exchange Commission says it's engaging with the CBN to analyze and understand this market, in order to mitigate the threats to investors. Now, Irene, we see cryptocurrencies gradually becoming a medium of exchange. For example, Tesla says it will accept Bitcoin as a means of payment. If this trend, if this continues and it becomes a full medium of exchange, how can Nigeria look at the crypto market as a means of revenue generation, for the country?
All right, thank you. Regarding, the purchase by Tesla, of course, we know that Bitcoin on its own has a limit of 21 million, and the whole idea initially was not for it to become a medium of exchange for the entire world, right? So the truth of the matter is Nigeria needs to, develop regulations that suits the country itself, and not trying to employ strategies from, fine, you may want to take, one strategy from one country or the other, but not completely taking the entire scope, because what works for one country may not necessarily work for us. So we need to look in-house. And that's why I said at the start of this conversation that you should not completely eliminate exchanges, because they know what we might not, they know what the central bank might not know. It's just like going to fight bandits. You would rather use people within that community to find the bandit because they know the space better. Because the more you try to send the exchanges away, what happens is the bad actors have found they found an open window. Oh, the central bank is not interested in this. They're not interested in regulating. They're not interested in doing any form of, research, right? Then you start to see more of these bad actors flooding this particular space. So we really cannot let it go, because once the central bank shows interest in this space, then they start to draw out the value that can now start helping the economy of the country. We saw that with Kenya. The news came out last week where Kenya made Bitcoin one of their reserve currencies, mentioning that they had started to experience a drop in foreign, currency remittances into the country. So these are the things that we should start to adopt and not shut the door at them, because we may just be shooting ourselves in the foot.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned not, pushing out exchanges, because I was going to ask, what happens now? Where do we go from there? Because if people trade cryptocurrencies, if people cannot trade cryptocurrencies legally, doesn't that push people more through the back channels? So where do we go from here?
Of course. Of course, the exchanges might have been closed, the accounts might have been wiped out, but guess what? Transactions are still being performed, right? So there's really no stopping. There's really no going back. There's no, you can't completely eliminate the transactions. Right. So, for example, the exchanges that they had ordered the banks to close, if they had been getting some form of payments from these exchanges, now that is gone, and then individuals will find alternative ways to perform this transaction. And at the end of the day, we are the ones that would suffer, the entire situation, and we don't want that.
Okay, Adedeji, in 30 seconds, because we're running out of time. What do you think is the way forward now? I mean, with the ban and all in place, what should we be doing now? What's the way forward?
Just simply trying to get a way around it, go into deeper research, go into having consortium formed together, also go into making, effort to get regulatory tools to actually check those fears. Like I did mention earlier, there are tools to help government and regulators, check these bad actors that they did complain that those are the reasons why they did, stop the banks from interacting with this. But again, to be a little bit flexible with central bank, they probably will be having some inner things that are not visible to us. They have some intel that we don't know. But speaking from the cryptocurrency community, we say it is ill-advised, it is not okay, it is anti the development of that nascent sector. But whatever it is within central bank that is not within the purview of all, we believe that with those tools, which they are currently, I believe, with the liaison they are having with SEC and some other things, they will come up with a solution that will give every other person within the industry to play fairly and also secure the country as it is their fear that they have said earlier.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much, Adedeji Owonibi, the founder of Convexity, and Irene David Arinze, a certified cryptocurrency investigator. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the program. Well, that's all on Capital Market tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Edidiong Iwang. Do stay safe.